This is a book review on some interesting ideas I found in this book, The Dictator's Handbook. I'll start with a quick review. Overall, I'll probably give this book 3 stars out of 5. There are definitely some interesting idea, good coverage about this whole process of government, dictators, and the way they go around, do their thing. However, I felt this was a little too scattered, was not organized enough, and was not grasping overall. Certain parts of the book were not as interesting to me. Let's see the notes. The leader motive is to stay in power and survive. That's what leaders want, is to stay in power and survive, and that's represented by what they're doing. The army is highly important in order to keep power. Usually they always have, dictators have much control on the army, or they try at least to get that control, because it's very important in order to stay in power. High taxes cause people to work less hard, since some of the money goes to the government and not to their pockets. That's the con, or the counterproductive consequence of high taxes, is that people do not want to work as hard, and there is less taxes overall because they don't earn that money. Both political parties tax their opponents and benefits their supporters. So either Republicans, Democrats, or any other parties in different countries usually tax their opponents and benefit their own supporters. The dictator is trying to stay in power by providing the minimum amount necessary for its citizens. They don't try to really make them more powerful, not powerful, but what essentially they're trying to do is give the least amount possible so they will keep supporting them, or at least keep being alive, because they need their working hands. Foreign aid is often used for policy concessions rather than altruistic motives. That was actually an interesting part of the book about foreign policy and foreign aid. And usually what companies are doing that for, not to really help the other countries, is usually for policy concession and not, again, altruistic motives. Good point. Some NGOs are actually making things worse by taking jobs from locals and providing governments with money to take away. So that's actually the counterproductive consequence of NGOs. They take, because they bring their own people usually, so they take jobs from locals, and also they give government money, and then oftentimes they're using that money for whatever they want to do, not for the intended idea, or the intended idea. I can't find the right word. The problem with foreign aid is that the donor is trying to stop paying, while the receiver has no incentive to change things. That's the major problem in foreign aid, is whoever gives the money is trying to give less money over time, because they're not trying to keep giving money away. However, the receiver has no incentive to make things right. They actually have the incentive to keep getting money, and in some way to keep things worse. Good point too. Limiting protest could also limit economic cooperation between individuals, because the way you're limiting protest is usually by limiting free speech, limiting movements, and by that it's inevitable that you will limit cooperation and economic cooperation between people. In the war between Israel and Arabs around it, Israel won because the lack of motivation other countries had. There is some people think because Israel were so successful, and they have many different reasons why Israel won that war, but one of the main reasons, according to the author, is that Israel just didn't have the right incentives. They were not as eager to win as Israel was. So that's it for notes. And again, there is some interesting parts, especially if you're interested in this type of information. but I could definitely think that could be a better job. There's some part of the books that were just not grasping enough, and for me, in my opinion. And that's it. Thank you.